Hi listeners, welcome to my channel. On 24th of June at 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, Sun and Moon will oppose each other, bringing light to 3°28' of Capricorn as a full moon. Honeymoon for some, strawberry moon for others. This full moon comes on the heels of Mercury going direct and Neptune going retrograde, which means one thing: full disclosure and clear realization. This is the last supermoon of this year, and it's happening at the degrees where solar eclipse of 25th of December 2019 happened, which was activated on 21st of March 2020. Of course, the events of 2020 and the pandemic are linked to that solar eclipse. And the full moon will bring clarity, culminations, and the next level of progress on all of that. It doesn't mean that those events end because they're part of a longer cycle, but it shifts the whole process we have all been a part of over the course of past year and a half, as well as it brings us objectively to reason the why of what we just went through. Last time a lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, happened on these sensitive degrees was back in June of 2010, when the biggest US government leak happened through Wikileaks, disclosing Iraq war documents. It was also a year when many of us lived through the 2009 swine flu pandemic coming to a closure about 3 or 4 months post the eclipse. We had the worst oil spill, the BP oil spill, along with all of that. 2010 is a key reference point here, even for our own individual move forward. Nothing is exactly the same, but you would hear the current events chime the past to this very sobering, objective, yet optimistic and expansive full moon that will drive all of us to push through, closing the past and approach the future with a newfound enthusiasm and ambition. Our motivation for success far supersedes our need to cling to the past or our need to cling to the patterns of seeing things worse than they are. It's happening as we enter a brand new season. Changes in the air. We'll cover all of this today. Now that Mercury is direct, I have 2 announcements of my own. First, I publish all of my written content now on Substack, so you can sign up for my free newsletter on it, so you'll receive all the transit updates as a written transcript for you to reference anytime you want. I would also be adding a premium subscription and exclusive content there. Second, with the encouragement of many of you, I have opened an account on Patreon where you could choose to support my work if you find it meaningful or helpful in any way to you. At the cost of a coffee a month, I would be adding additional tiers soon with exclusive content. I will leave the links to both in the details. My name is Charu and I'm your host on this journey. So let's dig in. Let's get into the details. A full moon in Capricorn gives us results of a precise plan, a carefully planned event or project or restructure of life normally goes live, so as to speak, during the 2 weeks following the full moon today. Full moon brings both closures, completion, disclosures, normally of the past 6 months. But this specific full moon is not just about the past 6 months, because it is activating very sensitive degrees which were activated by the 25th of December 2019 solar eclipse, which was fully functional, fully activated on 21st or 22nd of March 2020. So this is the result of the past 1.5 years of work which you started since December of 2019, where a karmic or a fated event happened in March of 2020, propelling you forward. And that was last experienced. The history of this specific full moon was last experienced in 2010. The first 6 months of 2010 are a good reference point, as Jupiter is turning retrograde at the same degrees itself, so the themes are parallel. Career, life path, structure, authority of our life are the key themes that come to focus. And we have the opportunity to be more expansive on these themes, especially if you have planets or points which aspect the full moon at 3 degrees of Capricorn. It's the time when we have to ask for more. The full moon offers the impetus for us to be resourceful and make use of what we have, be productive. Achievement manifestation is the key aim here. There is a need for structure, doing things that would yield results in long term, rubber stamping things, maturing them, formalizing them, seeing them through, and getting them through certain kind of formalities. The shifts are made on our own initiation and efforts here, but they are very well thought out, and they should be very well thought out. I wouldn't call this full moon lucky, as Capricorn full moons are more karmic than lucky. They give results of the order that are equivalent to the inputs we have given to it. But because this full moon is positively aspected by the benefic planet Jupiter, which stands still in its strength today, we would see more support for the endeavors that are initiated or brought to conclusion right now. They would be more expansive. They would have an impetus to make us more than we have ever been before. This is a very expansive full moon, and this takes us to another dimension. It's time to take your expansive ideas, the epiphanies, the dreams that Jupiter in Pisces has lit in you recently, and create a formal, sustainable structure around them. We would have Jupiter-Uranus, the fifth harmonic aspect, repeated for the second time on 3rd of July. I have spoken of this fifth harmonic aspect before as well. This is a key aspect, key creative aspect of 2021, where Jupiter and Uranus are in a quintile phase. Quintile phase opens the door to influx of creative spirit post a period of disruption that shakes our status quo, and it shakes the inertia within us. And that shaking up began in January when we had the Jupiter-Uranus square. Now this fifth harmonic aspect is going to play for the second time on 3rd of July. Everybody does not respond to this aspect because it has a unique frequency to it. But if you do, it's the best outlet of this dissonance, of this disruption that we have experienced. I will link for you to revisit that aspect, as it will commingle with this very full moon that's happening right now. This is a quintile aspect, which is a creative aspect, a fifth harmonic aspect, which resonates with very different and very unique kind of creative spirits, and the best outlet of this would be experienced only in February of 2022, when we will reach the stage of effect of our creative expression on the collective, the outer world and the society. The influence on the others would only happen in February of 2022. That's when we would translate of this 2021 aspect, which is pure creativity, to what you're creating becoming the need of the time. And we will get opportunity with this Capricorn full moon to give form to this fifth harmonic creative frequency. These are culminations or conclusions you would have not come to back when the version of you that existed in December of 2019, that version of you would not have come to this conclusion. And that's why the 1.5-year process that all of us have gone through has made us into who we are today. Events of the last 1.5 years have changed fundamentally who we are structurally. And with that, what you're going to give birth to with this full moon is much more you than you have ever imagined. The degree at which this full moon is happening is the degree of desire to prove oneself. The desire to prove oneself is the Samhain symbol, which is described as a human soul in its eagerness for new experiences, seeking embodiment. Our human soul, in its eagerness to express itself fully, is seeking a physical form. We yearn for giving form to our increased contribution and our increased ambition. This yearning and drive could very much either be constructive or destructive, as the act is going to be done in strong drive right now. So, an instinctive evaluation of what's the end game, what's the end result that you're striving for, needs to also be done right now. Let's briefly look at some of the global themes, because Capricorn full moons have a significant global impact. They bring to light the matters linked to heads of state, hierarchy. Even in your individual capacity, you will see these themes impacting you. Changes in hierarchy, changes in government, changes in structure of large corporations, earth matters, earth materials, earth resources, they come into focus. For example, the coal industry, mining business, industries that deal with earth materials or forests, big construction companies, buildings, structures, monopolies, countries, borders, housing and real estate market, political events of global impact come into focus. The structures that hold your personal world as well as the world in general, the society, they come into focus. The spells of dryness are very common in Capricorn full moon. Spells of both internal dryness, which is dryness in form of friction between the ligaments or the bones. So the body parts which are impacted during the Capricorn full moon are bones, especially knees and skin. They're very, very sensitive and they're dry. It's overall drying to the body. Similarly, externally, this is very drying. So spells of drought, and because it's a earth related full moon, so shaking of the earth in form of earthquakes, so something changing the structure of the earth, mountain climbing incidents, they are common. And it doesn't mean all of these will happen, but these are generally the subject matters which are influenced on a global basis by the full moon in Capricorn. In our own household as well, the structure of the house, especially the pipes, etc., they need to be strengthened or reinforced sometimes during this full moon. If we draw the parallels from 2010, because 2010, June of 2010, and the first half of 2010 is when this eclipse, the eclipse that happened on these points was playing out. So you have to draw parallels of global events from 2010 as well. The biggest US government leak happened through Wikileaks disclosing Iraq war documents and showed that majority of Iraq war casualties, they were civilians at that time. It was the year of swine flu, which began a year earlier, and it came to a final closure towards the end of 2010, a few months after that eclipse. We had a big environmental crisis in name of BP oil spill. If any of you are old enough to remember, that was a very critical point when it was exposed how the environment was being endangered by these kind of oil spills. We have already seen some of the parallel incidents recently, but this is not an eclipse, it's a full moon, so the impact is not as big, but we would see some resonance with the past here. I've already mentioned China's chart engagement because there's this full moon and then we have a very, very dramatic fixed T-square which is coming in the first 10 days of July, which is going to result, in my view, of very volatile global events. And China's chart engages with that fixed T-square. This specific this specific full moon is happening with Uranus as the apex with China's chart's Mars. I do expect this to begin certain sudden chain of events as the month end full moon falls in the house of secrets, hospitals, opposite Uranus, showing either a sudden information regarding China coming to surface or a medical emergency. As this full moon activates the eclipse of 25th of December and the events of March of 2020, we would be prompted globally to look at the events objectively, trying to balance the emotions attached to the events for a outcome, for a objective outcome. This would shift things structurally. You have to understand the process that started in January of 2020 was a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Saturn-Pluto conjunction last happened in Capricorn back in 1517, 1518. It brings about structural changes in the world order. It is a 30+ year cycle in which in the first quarter of that cycle, which is the 8 years, so 2020 to 2028, certain dramatic changes, structural changes are introduced in the world order. In the last conjunction, which we happened in the 1517, 1518, Reformation was introduced. Martin Luther officially protested against the Catholic Church, and the religious reformation began in 1517. Saturn-Pluto cycles are very much about redistribution of global power and who has the resources and who has the most influence in the world. Global power is challenged and shifts during these cycles. The Reformation was a religious and political challenge to the church's authority, which led to 30 years of war. And it also gave birth to modern era Europe. It laid bare the increasing obsolescence of feudal administration. An administration was shown to be defunct. It spawned new universities, routine use of literacy, communication in native languages. It hastened and broadened the appeal of immigration to distant continents. We are in the first quarter of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and the why of that cycle will come up during this full moon. History is made in the hindsight in the first quarter of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, and we are in the middle of that. Mars in Leo is very proud. We are going to have a T-square on 1st of July and then another one in the first week of July. It's Mars in Leo opposing Saturn in Aquarius. Mars in Leo is very, very proud, unafraid to act. And it is going to square Uranus, and then Saturn will be opposed by it in the first 10 days of July. We will see globally very volatile events which will be driven by pride, which will be driven by opposition from the other party trying to control somebody's pride. And we could experience some of that opposition in our personal life as well. We will see more volatility in the first 10 days of July, which will be the result of somebody trying to block our proud efforts. Something structurally trying to constrain it, and we'll have to break free from it. Fixed T-squares always change the structures of our life. They change the fundamentals that we have been following for a very long time. Something fixed is restructured in life. Capricorn full moon always come up with rules change of our life, and the changes are for long term, which are driven by the intent of bringing more order to life, bringing more prosperity, more ambitions to fruition in life. But you also have to remember that Capricorn is very karmic. It is ruled by Saturn. So what is sown is reaped at this time, which holds for global events as well. It's the time to recalibrate the world again and redefine the world again. No, these are not my words. I'm quoting Qatar Airlines, and we will hear a lot of those from business world. Business of big corporations, monopolies, capitalism, centralized boss structures, leadership structures which are ruled by somebody. They're part of the Capricorn archetype. The traditional work culture is part of Capricorn archetype. And with the full moon in Capricorn, they will come into life, and they would oppose the Cancer archetype, which is family life, working from home structures, comfort, emotional well-being, small businesses, all the things that we have created over the course of last 2 years almost, Capricorn archetype will question them. And the Capricorn archetype is the bosses, it's the businesses, it's the big corporations, it's the monopolies, it's the capitalism. This is going to be a balancing act, and we would see conflict arise out of this issue in society. Capricorn rules career. Many career shifts, tough business choices would be made to strive this very balance. Ambition, if I may say corporate greed, would be more dominant over the course of next 2 to 4 weeks. It has its place in running the economy, but we would have to balance things out. Big sharks taking over small businesses is common during this time. Change in heads of businesses or CEOs or your own bosses or corporate big shots or country heads. Changing for personal reasons is common during this time. Power shifts happen, careers change, restructuring in governments, hierarchies, or business happens. Industrialists conflict with environmentalists. That is a very common conflict that plays out during full moon of Capricorn. Regulations are introduced that tax sometimes the common man or small businesses. Coal, oil, earth destroying businesses seem to thrive more than environmental friendly ones. Land development and construction picks up. More ways to commercialize the resources of earth through new mining areas, etc., are found. The engulfing gap between the have and have nots is becoming more starkly and comes to clarity. It's highlighted much more during this time. But this is from a personal perspective and even from global perspective, the things that are coming to light. Because of the positive influence of Jupiter, they are meant to be beneficial for us, because if we don't see the dysfunction, we cannot heal it. So it's beneficial for both the healing as well as to bring out, if we have been holding our ambition back, this full moon amps us up to get out of a comfort zone to progress forward. This is also a balancing act in a personal life. Professional matters or external matters, they need to be balanced with emotions, family matters, parents, parenthood, your duties to your family, to your home, property matters, security. This is a balance that needs to be had, where practicality and business matters will come at a more focus as compared to your personal and emotional life. And similarly, we sort of urge to keep things dry, if I may say, actively striving to keep matters dry so we can create the right structure and order of a life. And that would be a call of this full moon, whether it is to actually keep us emotionally dry so we can take some practical decisions about our career, or physically keeping the home dry. It's like avoiding something from getting flooded, emotional flooding as well as the physical water flooding. You're sort of creating a dry area around that so you can take care of business. We are in Cancer season right now. Moon cycles in Cancer season are felt way more strongly than any other time of the year. Our moods literally ebb and flow with the phase of moon during the 4 weeks that we have Cancer season starting right now. This means that one day is not going to look same as the other. One day is going to look starkly different from another in terms of how we feel. The optimism very quickly turns to pessimism. If the food was not cooked right or we just got out of the wrong side of the bed, the emotions are much more fluctuating during a Cancer season. So Capricorn full moon almost asks us to create a dry bank, and it asks us to create a structure. The biggest gift you can give yourself to take advantage of the Cancer season which we are in right now for the next 4 weeks is a routine. Anyone who has ever brought up a child who's sensitive knows that to get a calmer child, you have to have a routine, because it makes them feel something is a constant. I'm not saying that Cancer or we are a child right now, but our security, our need for security, our need for comfort, our need for retaining some sort of an anchor is heightened in Cancer season. And a routine normally offers that, because when For example, in case of a child, when the whole life is shifting and their body is changing by the minute, a need for security, and you might already have that. It's sometimes in a food habit, something constant in the food habit. That's how it forms, gives us a sense of security. So our need for security is going to be heightened as we go through a key external change in our career, in our external life, in our leadership style, in our job, or in the hierarchy and the structure of our life. And the most efficient way to operate during this change is to have some kind of structure and routine to your day to keep you grounded and have a key source of self-care and nurturing. Some find it in family, home, calling their mom, some in doing what nurtures their soul. We mature our emotional impulses and learn to balance them with our external life every year in Cancer season, and it is that time of the year. Now, in this 4 weeks of Cancer season, nurturing, home, family, inner care, through push or pull, we would be asked to focus versus that on our external life. And many of us would make it it will be like a wake up call for many of us. For example, if we have been in a comfort zone to some extent, it's more of a gentle awakening to our ambitious side versus a banshee screamer alarm. It's the part of us that sort of 2020 has restructured, and now that part of us wants to come out to show itself. You know, the things we've been saying to ourselves in the face of mortal pandemic that we all have been through, that I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that. Well, it's time to do it. Normally, Capricorn full moons deal with our life path, careers, and structure of our life, as we are asked to focus on how are we using or wasting our time on earth. It's a very matter of fact full moon when practical career questions, business plans, investment returns, value of tangible outcome of our life and our ideas is reviewed and changed. And you would have to balance this out with how you emotionally feel. If you feel attached to something emotionally versus what you have to do for the practicality of the moment or your own comfort zone or caring for yourself and your loved ones. Our balance or lack of balance with emotional life and security versus external life is invariably brought to focus. Let's look at the timing. Now, Capricorn is very much about delayed gratification. Like, in order to even get something here, you need to go through some amount of hardship. So it's possible that what is coming to you is coming after a delayed gratification. So looking back at December 2019 eclipse, it will spark some realization of the things you wanted to complete at that time and you were not able to. But now you have a different view of it on how you want to go about it. It might seem possible now because of the not so pleasant things you have gone through in the past 1.5 years, which did get you to the structural change in your life, which you actually sought in December 2019, but you thought it was not possible. But now the last 1.5 years have changed the structure of the life so much. They look like the obvious next step to you. You have to honor that all the external planets are right now retrograde. Except of Uranus, everything is retrograde in the social planets, which means that the energies of the external planets are not supporting us to get inputs from others. We will have delays when we look for support, when we look for approvals, when we look for somebody else to give something to us. We would have a little bit of a delay here. We are in a self-driven growth phase, and you will face opposition when you ask for support in the first 10 days of July. You will find Mars in Leo, our actions are very, very effective, but somebody doesn't want to support it that much. All the external planets except Uranus are retrograde, which means that their energy is focused on growing you versus telling you that you're going to get a lot of support from other people. But this is where your emotions are invested. Capricorn is the moon right now. We are emotionally really invested in what we want to do. So through our own emotional impetus and our own zest, we will get it through. This culmination in your career, a work project and ambition would have a lot riding on it emotionally in prospect of progression as well as opportunity of expansion it offers, which will drive you. Neptune is retrograde. Mars is in Leo, so our actions are very, very effective. We have both the drive and the guts to get what we want. Our mind is coming into forward gear as Mercury is direct, Neptune is retrograde, so fog is lifted. This is as real as it gets. Do it. We are in the quintessential experimentation stage of Mercury coming out of retrograde. It's the time to test the untried, market new ideas, forward thrust with willful creative freedom, seize all opportunities of growth and expansion. Both Mars and Mercury are in their sign of strength till 11th of July. Our mind and actions are operating at optimal efficiency to deliver good results. Full moon in Capricorn wants your ambition side to come out and play full on. This is experimentation phase of action, action without overthinking. As Mercury, our mind is in Lucifer mode right now, so it sort of is just going to do it without overthinking it. Inner urge is the motivator. You have been asked so many times to hold back. Now you got 47 days of no holding back, forward action, but on your own impetus. Uranus will egg this zest on, as it will ask you to break some rules and go out of your comfort zone, as it is the apex of the fixed T-square that is forming in July. It's the way out. To get a different result, we have to try a different way of going about it. And with Uranus, it means that it will have to be a little bit rebellious. It will have to be a little bit out of the box. It will be something that is out of your comfort zone, both in money as well as in your value system. You're sort of walking away from your old value system. You're walking away from your old money, the value that you placed on things. Uranus in Taurus means that we are walking out of our comfort zone in self-worth, in net worth, in value system. The outcome of a Capricorn full moon is concrete. Something substantial, tangible needs to be the goal here for next 2 weeks to manifest, which would be the result of a very aggressive and fervent pursuit of our expansion. And that's what we have going for us. So good luck for that, and I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.